Hello, how is everybody doing? I hope you're having a good weekend so far. Formula One's back, which I'm super pumped about. Got back into it quite recently, last about 2 seasons ago, and yeah, I'm pumped. We'll see. Hopefully we can get a nice max win, which will be cool. In today's video, by the way, I'm not being rude on my phone. We are going to be doing some Q&A, questions and answers, exclusively from the group in Patreon. There's a couple of great questions. I think it's going to be valuable for everybody tuning in. Also, I've got some stuff on the table to show you guys. So, without further ado, I'll see you after the intro. Boom. Okay, so I think we do it like this. We do a question or two, and then I show you one new thing. And then we do a question or two, and then I show you something else we got on the table. So I think that'll be fun. So, first question. Terry asks, what load development method do you recommend when range time is extremely limited? Also, do you recommend the same method for semi-auto as with a bulk gun? My range is an hour away, and I'm only able to get there once every 2 to 3 weeks for 3 to 4 hours at a time. So Terry, I've spoken about my load development method I used. Well, it's certainly not my load development method. It's actually Dan Newberry's method. Dan, if you're watching, let us know in a comment down below. I have seen you commenting in past videos before. The method is called OCW. So I'm not going to go into too much specifics about that, but I'm going to leave a link for us down below to the OCW method. And that method really has proven itself to me over and over. I'm not going to show you guys too much info that's actually on these pages, but most of my rifles are shooting very, very tiny groups using that method. And that method is very easy to do. I generally only need about 2 hours at the range, and I have not struggled to find a load. I've never gone to the range of OCW and gone back and be like, oh, I've got nothing to work with. At least the very minimum what OCW is going to do for you, stands for optimum charge weight, by the way. What that's going to do for you is going to give you a very good idea of what powder charge you should be working around. And then if you really want to fine tune if it's needed, if I shoot a 3/4 MOA group like that, or no, a 1/4 MOA group, I think those are like 0.3, then I really don't fiddle too much with it after that. I mean, you can start playing with seating depth and things like that, but honestly, if it's shooting good, I just call it a day and I load up all my ammo with that information. So I'm going to leave OCW link down below. You can read the theory as well as the method. And if you want to play with seating depth, as I mentioned, you could do that on a second trip, but at the very least, it's going to give you a good starting point for which load you should kind of go for. Right, thank you for your question, Terry, and thanks for always commenting on the videos. It's super cool. Christo asks us, what method do you prefer to measure your rifle's lands accurately to determine seating depth and bullet jump? So there's two methods you can use. There's the one method where you have specific tooling and things like that. But then there's another method that you can get away with if you don't have all the right stuff. So everybody's got stuff to clean their rifles with. There's a method where you can put the cleaning rod down the front of your barrel, which they say you shouldn't do, which I have done. But it does help you out if you don't have all the specific tools. But if you want to do this accurately and more repeatably, I recommend getting the OAL gauge from Hornady. Basically modified case, which has been tapped at the back. You screw that in. You insert a bullet down the front, and you can use this little slidey mabobby to determine exactly where you need to be without going into too much detail about that. Highly recommend picking that up. Super inexpensive piece of kit, and these modified cases are pretty readily available and they're inexpensive. Now, if you're shooting some sort of wildcat, some companies or gunsmith can actually take an existing case that you have fire formed in your chamber, and they can modify that for you, and they can turn that into a case that'll fit on the tool. Right, first new product I'm going to show you guys. Okay, so you guys are familiar with the muzzle brakes that I shoot. So we have the Raptor 4-port muzzle brake, this little cutie over here. So we recommend this for, like, if you want to shoot your 6.5 Creed or 260 or whatever, but for me, I'm shooting this on my 223. I'm shooting this on the 6 Creed, not that I have the 6 Creed anymore, but really I want to go 6 mil and under for the 4-port guy. You can put this on a big boy, it's still gonna work. But for me, I like aesthetically how this looks on my bigger profile barrels. This is the Raptor 5-port. Now you're saying, Pete, we know these products exist, what's new? The Monster, that's what's new. This guy is specifically designed for taming 338s. It is unbelievable. So as you can see, a significant upgrade over the 5-port Raptor. The Monster Raptor looks super good. Basically, we supersize it. It's like turning a 30-06 into a 50 BMG. That's pretty much what we've done. We've beefed up the nut a little bit here on the back. It looks super good. So that's new. Link below. Right, let's get back into some questions, shall we? What is it with this channel and birds doing flybys? Okay, next question from Sasha. Basically asking, how long did my barrel last with N550 on my 6.5 Creedmoor? So out of my first barrel, this is very specific. So barrel life is a combination of things. How hot are you shooting your loads? In other words, how high in sort of the pressure ranges are you shooting your rifle? And then the strings of fire. How often are you shooting it? How much are you shooting it without letting it cool down? If you're only shooting 2-3 rounds, then waiting 20 minutes for your barrel to cool down, 2-3 rounds. You know, I was shooting it for the most part only in matches, because in South Africa, swapping barrels and things like that is not easy to do, because we actually license our barrels. And I got 3,200 rounds out of that barrel, which was a lot. So yeah, most of that was actually only in competition use. I would just go do load development, put my rifle away and save it essentially for matches. So 3,200 rounds is a lot. I did at the end of that shoot probably the best group that I ever shot with it, but I did notice I was losing speed. And I took it to my gunsmith. He bore scoped it, because with my OCD there's no way I'm looking down a bore with a bore scope. I will be changing barrels every 2 weeks, at least if I lived in the US. So I took it to Alfred at Bullet Central, and Alf was like, bro, this thing is toast. Luckily at the time it already had the new barrel license and everything, so that was a quick switch. But yeah, I got 3,200 rounds out of the barrel, which was quite a lot considering I was doing mostly match shooting. Now, something to note, for the first part of that barrel, I would say probably at least the first 2,000 rounds of that barrel, I was using a coating called HBN, which basically reduces the friction down the barrel, drops you in speed a little bit, but then you just load up some more powder. So that maybe extended the barrel life. I'm like 800-ish rounds into the current barrel, so I'll let you guys know how that's going, because I have gone away from shooting HBN. It's just I don't have the time, unfortunately. Right, question from Stan down under. Hey mate, if you're shooting constantly sub-MIA groups with affordable factory ammo, do you think it's worth investing in reloading equipment and the time involved in load development? Stan, thanks for your support on Patreon too, and always engaging with us on the group. So first of all, thanks for that. I think it's a good question you're asking. For us, specifically in South Africa, there's no such thing as affordable factory ammo. It's just not possible. So if you are in, I know you're in Australia obviously, if you can get affordable factory ammo, let me put it to you this way actually. If I was able to get affordable factory ammo for even a little bit more than I spend to make the ammo myself, I would shoot factory ammo without question. What you also have to factor in is to get into reloading for a precision rifle is not a cheap thing. And when you think like, okay, cool, I'm gonna make my own bullets to save money. Like even in our country where bullets are ridiculously expensive, right? You can basically double everything from US prices when it gets here. You have to shoot so much to justify the capital outlay to go and invest in all the different bits and pieces of reloading equipment that I really think, like, it'll be interesting actually to work that out on a spreadsheet, how much you'd have to shoot. Because remember, it's not like when you're starting to shoot your reloads that your costs go down. You still need to buy components, you still need to get powder, primers, brass, bullets, so you have to work barrel life into that equation. So it doesn't get much cheaper, unfortunately. But yeah, purely the reason I say I would shoot factory ammo is that would just give me time, you know, to reload constantly, especially, and that's one of our challenges for the channel actually, is we have to, because I make gun videos, right? So I can't just go out to the range and not shoot. So, I mean, every now and then we'll have a video like the video today where we don't shoot. But yeah, so I would shoot factory ammo just to get my time back and spend more time with the family or on the business or whatever the case may be. On that note, on the business, in one of our last videos, I said it's a little bit challenging at the moment due to how well the channel's doing. By the way, if any of you have somehow emailed me or sent me a WhatsApp and I didn't reply to you, I apologize. I physically just don't have the capacity to deal with the volume of emails we're getting at the moment. It's nuts. So yeah, I hope that answers your question sufficiently. Matt, do you incorporate dry firing into your practice routine? And if so, how often do you do it? So at the moment, not at all, zero. For the last while, I've been a little bit bad with that, and I think that's due to my shift has sort of focused to making content for you guys. You know, yeah, I still want to compete when I go to matches and do well, but I do feel like I've sort of shot enough and I shoot enough throughout the week that I get enough practice in. When I still had my day job and leading up to a competition, like the first, let's say I'm 3 weeks out from a match or 2 weeks out from a match, because we don't have matches like every weekend and multiple matches to choose from in South Africa, I would be dry firing every evening. I'd take 30 minutes, and I don't necessarily have props and things at home, but I'll take a game changer and I'll chuck it over a bar stool, turn the bar stool sideways, lean it up against the wall to create odd angles, and that would basically be my practice routine every night. And I do that on a tiny little target, and I'd sort of aim over my wall, and my front door of my house has glass, so even in the winter when it's raining I can still dry fire in the house without being exposed to the elements, and that really does help a lot. And what I found what was super cool with dry fire is you can start fiddling with different things, like what happens if I put my hand here, what happens if I lean into my rifle a little bit more, if I lean into it less, and you can see what result that has on the reticle. The other good thing about dry firing is you need to make every shot count, whereas sometimes what I find in a match or when I'm at the range, there's I think Jason Green told me about this, he calls it his point pull hope strategy. It's like, I'm sort of on target, I need to move on to the next one, and you go cling, and then you hope it gets there. You can't, I don't do that with dry fire. Like every single trigger pull has to be perfect, and because that's really where we're gonna sort of get that unconscious competence where everything sort of goes onto autopilot, and that's something you can really focus on in dry fire. I also recommend you video your dry fire so you can watch it back and notice little things that you're doing wrong. So awesome question, thank you very much. Tyron, boom, love these sessions, probably an easy and quick one. I'd like more info on your first PRS match. Like, what would you say is at least a scope like this or better scope to have, okay? And how much ammunition should you take? Okay, the other part of your question is coming. So first of all, how much ammo you take, the match director would generally give you guys an update before the time, say, listen, it's a 60 round count or it's 120 if it's a 2-day. And I would generally take, if it's 120, I'd go with 150. Gives me 30 rounds to 0, get dope and things like that. Maybe even 160, just, you know, you never know. I've been to some matches where I had to reshoot a stage, and now all of a sudden you've brought just enough ammo. I've been to some matches where I had to reshoot a stage and I had to borrow ammo from a competitor, completely different load, like it was a 130 grain bullet versus a 140, and I just sort of stacked my mag so that I would know in which order I'd get to the closer targets, and I would burn the closer targets with these ammo, and I actually cleaned that stage, which was a miracle. But there's nothing worse than opening up your little ammo binder and going like, oh crap, I got 4 stages left and I've only got 30 rounds in my binder. That sucks. So just ask your MD, phone him up, send him a text, email, whatever. Ask him what the round count is for the match. Take enough. You might bump your scope, have to go re-zero, whatever. So just be prepared for an unforeseen situation too. Then in terms of minimum scope, really, I've shot with a borrowed air rifle scope and 1 matches. So anything will do. The big thing is just to go out there and shoot. Don't worry about the equipment or anything like that. Just get out there and go have fun at your first match. Then you'll have a very good idea of sort of what you need equipment wise what to invest in. If you were going to go and you know the sport is for you, you were really going to get into it, as we said, in the sort of budget build. By the way, that was a budget build that will last, not a under $1,000 budget build that you're gonna like in a few years you go like, maybe I should have rather bought different. So that budget build was really like the minimum for a rifle that you can have forever, you know, the forever budget build. That's what the title should have been. So scope wise, if I was gonna buy one scope now for an entry-level gun, I would recommend buying the Strike Eagle 5 to 25 by 56. It's got literally every feature I want, throw lever included. They knocked it out the park with that one. Okay, so before we get to the next question, show you another product. This is our APW expander set that we've recently refined. This is basically version 3, and basically what you do with the set like this is you reduce your extreme spread and your standard deviation quite a lot. I don't know if you guys have ever like pushed the press down and you go like, ooh, this bullet's seating like way tighter than the one before that, and they're not all exactly the same. This pretty much eliminates that if you're doing your case prep correctly. That's pretty much what this APW expander mantle is for. And if you want more info, I'm going to link that down below for you guys too. Let's get into some more questions, shall we? Build specs on your ESS. So Michael, thanks for your question. Unfortunately, due to sort of how everything happens here and what rifles we're shooting when, the 20-inch Creedmoor is no longer in the ESS. You guys would have seen that was transferred over into the RX for the last video we did, because I like shooting that rifle for doing demos for you guys, but shortly. Willem asks, looking to buy a semi-automatic rifle. Any ideas? You could buy mine. Maybe. I'll chat with you about that. I love my semi-auto rifle, but unfortunately it's the kind of thing that I'm so obsessed with bolt guns. I just enjoy shooting them more. Every time I'm like, hey, I should do some more pistol shooting, I should do more of this, and I don't get to it. So, because I just shoot my bolt guns all the time. So as far as caliber wise, I think that's something to consider. If you want to get maybe an AR-10 with like a heavier, you can shoot a 308 or a 6.5 Creedmoor. I think that's something I'd maybe shoot a little bit more. Coming back to, I think it was Terry's question about the load development too. I didn't touch on the AR versus bolt gun. I have tried the OCW technique for my AR2 and I didn't have too much luck with that. Having said that, my accuracy requirements for that wasn't very high. So I pretty much just, you know, loaded something till I got a group like this, and for what the type of shooting I was doing with the AR, that was sufficient. So I didn't refine too much on that. So Willem, to your question, really decide on the caliber first and then decide what you want to spend. Do you want to get a fully kitted out crazy AR to do match shooting, or is it just an AR for home defense / it's the fan situation? So I think that's appropriate, but you have my number so we can chat more on that in person. Right, Brad, what is your tripod setup? Is it worth the money buying an expensive, really right stuff, or are Leo, Frodo and 2 vet tripods good enough? So this is a difficult one. I think that for the amount of shooting, if we're talking shooting specifically, we do off our tripods, it's very little. The few matches I've been to where you had to shoot off a tripod, there's always been a tripod supplied. What I personally use my tripod for a lot, well now more than ever, you guys are sitting on the tripod. So I've got a Swarovski CT101 carbon fiber tripod, and I've also got a Manfrotto tripod at the back there. I can grab it and show it to you guys. It looks a little bit trash because I spray painted it, then stripped it, then stickered it. It doesn't look great anymore. Hello. Right, so, oh, gracious. This is what I ran for a year and a half, at least. Model number CP58. No, that's just the thing. Nope, lost the model number somewhere along the line. So I used that tripod for quite some time. It was definitely sufficient. What I use my tripod for most at matches is glassing with my binos, or getting my range-finding binos stable enough to laser targets that are really far. So I honestly, I'll put it to you this way. I've at one match had to engage I think it was 6 or 7 targets twice at quite extended distances standing from a tripod. Now this carbon fiber tripod I have from Swarovski is super nice, but it's not that level. So at that match, I borrowed my friend Hardy's tripod, and that was a really right stuff tripod. The way it locks onto the arc rail, the way you can tension it, that was significantly better than what I have now. So maybe in that specific scenario, if you're gonna get one, it'll obviously be fine for all the binos and the stuff. And if you're gonna be shooting off that and you wanna maximize points and you're super serious into this, then I'd say go for it. I really liked it. Would I want a really right stuff tripod? Yeah, I would. And I think for hunting and stuff like that too, you know, you're out in the backcountry or far up into the mountains where we hunt in Namibia, for example, you've got a very compromised shooting position. If you're comfortable and you've got a lightweight tripod that you have with you, okay, this thing is aluminium, it's heavy. I'd be comfortable to take an animal, and I have taken animals shooting out of my tripod at 300, 500 yards. So to summarize, if I had the funds and I was super serious, I want to win matches, I don't want to potentially drop 1 or 2 shots because of my tripod on the odd tripod stage that you'll get, I'd say go for it. I was very impressed with the way my rifle locked up and how quickly I was able to use the system, and I haven't even trained with it. So I think that's also plays into the tripod thing a lot, to be proficient with pulling out the legs and setting up and clamp your gun, knowing what sort of tension you need and what height it should be to sort of interface correctly with the rifle. So I think that in the greater scheme of things plays a bigger role in making sure you're getting hits and obviously practicing what you have. But the really right stuff one is, I think that's kind of the benchmark. Okay, so Nico asks why I don't shoot the 147s in my Creedmoor over the 140s, because they have a better BC. I think sort of with every caliber there's a sweet spot, sort of the velocity to BC ratio, and for me I sort of just like the 140s. I like how they recoil, I like how they fly down range, there's plenty of BC, so that's kind of just personal preference. I think if you want to shoot the 147s, they'll absolutely be great. What I would probably do with the 147s is maybe run them in something like a 6.5 PRC maybe. You'll still be able to push them nice and fast, maximize on that BC. But yeah, I kind of just settled on the 140s. They were available, they're a good price point, they've got a good BC, I can shoot them sort of at the speed I want to shoot them, and they work in my rifle. To be honest, I've never even tried the 147s in my rifle, and I probably won't, because the 140 shoots so good and I haven't felt limited by the 140s at all. So good question, thank you very much. New product. But before we open the box, I want to thank MDT for sponsoring today's video. As you guys know, most of our videos get instantly demonetized because we speak about kaboom boom pow. So even just explaining how this little thing works, probably gonna get demonetized. So MDT, thank you for making today's video possible. You guys absolutely rock, and thanks for supporting the channel. Guys, support them for supporting us. mdttac.com for your next precision rifle chassis. Now, in this box is, which one did I take? Okay, cool. Just make sure everything is hunky-dory. You can see the orange in there. That was smooth. Let me pop this over to the side. Okay, cool. This is a Glock 19 that we pimped my Glock, okay? I'll show you some pictures. We did various models. They all came out super, super cool. One of a kind. They have been cut to fit the Vortex Venom red dot. Boom. Obviously, I haven't screwed that in, but that is just to show you guys. So I'm pumped with how these came out. And yeah, that was a fun little project. So they are, yeah, I can't finish that sentence, but you guys know what I mean. Cool. Next question from Jacob. I shoot a Tikka, I think you're 30-06 T3X, only centerfire rifle I have, and at the time I feel it was a poor choice of possible rifle calibers available. One rifle is better than no rifles, Jacob. Is it possible to barrel swap or maybe a bolt change so I can shoot 300 Win Mag? You could definitely do a barrel change on that rifle and take it to 300 Win Mag. You might be able to mill open that 06 bolt face to get you to Magnum level bolt face. I'm not familiar with the Tikka bolt face specifically and how the extractor works, because that's generally where the problem is. But maybe some guys in the comments can help you out on that. But 300 Win Mag, I do think the 30-06 gets a lot of hate. Just because back in the day, you know, like that's sort of the average hunting caliber I think people had but the 300 Win Mag must be without a doubt one of the most popular calibers in the world. And I don't have a 300 Win Mag, but I've got a 7300 Win Mag that I maybe get next week. Hold thumbs. Everybody hold thumbs, please. Chris, will a heavier contour barrel like an M24 help hold on target after recoil? And what are some of the other advantages of having a heavier barrel, if any? For reference, I'm a new shooter using a Savage Axis 2 and an RX chassis, Boom RX. That was me saying that, not Chris. With the stock barrel and a clamp on brake. Thanks. Okay, Chris, first things we got to do, mate. We got to thread that barrel and get rid of that clamp brake. I have heard some stories about those things coming loose and then off into the distance. Maybe we can get you one of these or one of these. Oh, mother. Okay, so first of all, a heavier barrel is absolutely going to help with recoil. Now, something to consider, I don't know, I don't think you mentioned the caliber you're shooting. No, you didn't. On a 6mm, it's absolutely going to help you even more than, for example, on a 7mm. Adding weight to a rifle is always good. So a heavier barrel on your RX is absolutely going to serve you well. Some of the other advantages you will have on a heavier barrel, it is going to take a little bit longer to heat up. Now, what you have to understand with that, it's also going to take a little bit longer to cool down because you give and you get with that. However, I've generally found heavier barrels to also be more rigid. I think that's also been scientifically proven. So that's probably going to be a little bit easier to load for, and it's probably going to shoot a little bit better. The other thing you also have to factor in, when you're combining a heavy barrel with a heavy rifle, maybe you've got a heavy optic on there with an efficient muzzle brake, this one. Then as a package, that whole package becomes more shootable. Because if you're not scared of that recoil and anticipating that shot, you can be so much more effective with manipulating your rifle and driving your rifle onto target. So yeah, a heavier barrel is absolutely going to help you out on that. And I think some people, for example, if we take this to the other extreme, carbon fiber, lightweight hunting rifle, they tend to be harder to shoot because they have a little bit more kick. Okay. Chris to ask us another question. Is it the same, Chris too? No? Yes. No. Yes. Chris, you get 2 for 1 today. Small primers, large primers. I like the little primers because they fit in my Alpha Bras. We're going to keep that one short. Ash, another question. Yeah, that's going to be a separate video still, mate. Working on it. Sorry, John. Okay, Jacob's asking us to do a complete beginner's guide on Strolock Pro. That is a great idea, my friend. What I'm going to do for us, I will put that video together in the next week or 4, and then that'll help you out going forward. We have some other plans, and that's why I'm saying we're working on a project that I can't wait to share with you guys. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cooler than this. So I'm really excited about that. By the way, also you guys know the wooden background you see behind me. No. This is the white paper you see behind me, but the general sort of our usual background, we're making some changes. So I don't want to say too much, but I'm super pumped for the stuff we're working on. I want to thank everybody for watching today. As always, please make sure you leave a comment down below. Maybe you can add to some of the answers I've given. As I always say, I don't know everything and I like learning from you guys too. And I think as a collective, we can all learn from each other. So make sure you leave us a comment down below. Make sure you are subscribed. If you want to get part of this Q&A, make sure you join our Patreon and the People of Impact down here. And check out some of our other videos up here. By the way, I'm going hunting next week, Sunday, at Frontier Safaris again. It's gonna be awesome. I'm pumped. You should be pumped. We're doing video. It's gonna be cool. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.